Hello and welcome back everyone. My name's Kenny and I'm here every week to talk about movies. I just wrapped up my 5 Fridays of October where I've spent the month counting down my top 5 favorites from various horror movies. If you missed it, I'm sorry. Make sure you go back and check it out. Even though the videos were a lot of fun to put together, they were a lot of work. It's refreshing to be back to my normal format and just talk about one movie at a time. This week's movie is Crawl. It came out in 2019 and it was actually produced by Sam Raimi, the same guy who brought us the Evil Dead series, so I didn't need a lot of convincing to go watch this movie.
Wow, it's an emergency. Hang on, I'll get right on it.
Crawl tells the story of a father and his daughter stuck in their basement during a hurricane with some man-eating alligators. Well, it's more like a crawl space, to be more specific. You see what they did there? Floodwater starts pouring in and it threatens to drown them, so they need to take care of the alligators before they can escape. Now I gotta tell you, even with this overly simple plot, this is a surprisingly good movie. For starters, this movie did a great job at depicting the storm as a character in and of itself. It gets its own introduction.
Mandatory evacuation.
Hurricane force wind.
And for a large portion of the movie, the storm is the primary focus. The visuals were so convincing. The floodwater from the storm even has a few scenes. We get to see as it creeps into their house, slowly at first, but then eventually it starts pouring in. And it's the storm, not the alligators, that gives us our first jump scare. I mean, with how over the top this movie sets out to be, man-eating alligators hunting humans in their homes, its characterization of the storm is surprisingly realistic, and it's very much grounded in reality. Almost too much in reality, in fact. It felt like, at the very least, a nod to climate change, there being an unusually large weather event. I know these huge devastating hurricanes are becoming more common in the South. Being from California, I can kind of relate, although it's a little bit different here. We've been getting a lot of record-breaking fire seasons, year after year. The fires also drive animals away from the forest and into neighborhoods. I can't tell you how many sightings we've had of mountain lions just wandering around downtown. It's only a matter of time before one ends up in someone's living room. Wait. I think I just wrote the plot to the next movie. The main characters, Haley and Dave, are also pretty well fleshed out. Haley, the daughter, is a competitive swimmer. By the way, the opening of the movie shows the title Crawl during a scene where everyone's swimming, as if to suggest that no matter how good we are at swimming, we really are only capable of crawling in the water compared to other aquatic animals. Haley's the one who gets trapped in the crawl space with her father, and I feel like we get a pretty good glimpse into their lives without a lot of overt dialogue or forced scenes. The movie manages to set up their family dynamic in more subtle ways. For instance, the reason Haley is in the house at all is because she got a call from her sister who was worried about not hearing from their dad for so long during the hurricane. From this we can deduce that Haley and her father aren't really talking much, seeing how it was the sister who noticed and not her. There's a scene shortly after that shows Haley searching around the house for her dad, and the shot kind of holds on the wall where the family used to measure their heights throughout the years. This establishes that the family has lived here for a long time. Perhaps this is the only house that the girls actually knew growing up. And this is where you can start to realize why Haley may be upset with her father. Her parents had just gotten a divorce, and we see when she arrives to the house that her father's selling the place, and Haley resents him for this. She sees him as kind of giving up on the family, or at the very least giving up on family history. So when the two finally talk about these feelings, it's not out of left field. Instead, it only validates what you might already be thinking. I really like this in movies when they think about the setup of the character before they have any dialogue introduced. There's also another scene that I really like that shows Haley crawling by this, I guess it's like a dead animal inside of a cage that really smells. It made me think that this could be the very smell that attracted the alligators in the first place. The movie never explicitly says this is what happened, but scenes like this make me think that maybe the writers and directors kind of knew what they were doing. So, with all this talk about characters and setup, you'd think that the movie was watered down with the carnage. Well, trust me, it is not. These alligators are out to kill. Like, they're ripping flesh and tearing bones. It was so visceral. This movie shows it all. In fact, this movie was, I think, a little too determined. Our main characters, they're attacked so often and so brutally that it's at some point it seems very unbelievable. Almost right away, Haley is bitten on the leg and slammed around. She's also bitten on the arm and the shoulder. Any one of these attacks, could have killed her. But within a couple of scenes,
Just a flesh wound.
The dad also is shown to have like a compound fracture in his leg, like bone sticking out of the skin compound fracture. But by the end of the movie, he seems good enough to walk while carrying a dog. I mean, are we really supposed to assume that his legs can heal that quickly? I mean, on one hand, I cared a lot about these characters because of the writing and their setup. But, I mean, at some point, if your characters are being attacked again and again, but there's no obvious consequences, I mean, I just don't care anymore.
Oh, come on. You're halfway through. Just snap it off already.
I'm actually torn about this complaint, though. In most disaster movies, main characters kind of always get themselves involved in these really over-the-top situations, and then they come out of it unscathed. For those movies, I don't really care. It's fun. But in this movie, for some reason, I feel differently. Probably because the rest of the movie was so well done as far as setup and character. So I guess I just expected it to handle the carnage in a similar way, but it didn't. Which is a minor complaint. It's not huge. It's not going to ruin the movie, but it's certainly kind of a roll of the eyes moment when they get attacked and then they're immediately able to run or hide or do whatever they have to do in order to escape from the alligators. Altogether, there's not a lot that's bad with this movie. It's mostly good. I'm pretty sure that every horror movie or disaster movie fan out there will probably love this. But it's also done with enough care and attention to detail that maybe a lot more people would enjoy this. Maybe people who wouldn't expect to normally watch something like this. So whether or not this seems like a movie that you typically enjoy, I'd say check it out. It's short enough that even if you didn't like it, it wouldn't waste much of your time. So what do you guys think? Is this a movie that more than just horror movie or more than just disaster movie fans can enjoy? And let me know in the comments what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy about the movie. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. That way you can keep up to date on what I'm watching. My name's Kenny, and until next time, let's not just watch movies, let's talk about them too.